Hello you beautiful escapers, 9HP here. In my last video, I went over 5 skills that had been removed from Runescape, which got me thinking on what modern day skills serve such little purpose to the point where they could be removed from the game with little to no effect to the game itself. But first, let's go over what defines a useless skill in 9HP's made-up dictionary. Copyright patent pending. A useless skill is a skill that serves little to no purpose to itself or other skills. This includes skills that could easily have their few useful abilities transferred or replaced into another skill, including filler skills that were implemented with minimal effort through quote-unquote lazy game development, aka skills that the game could still function without. So, let me know below in the comments what you guys feel are the top 5 useless skills before you watch the countdown. And please remember that these are all my personal opinions. I enjoy every skill on this list in one way or another, and I would not actually wish for any skills to be removed. Lastly, these skills are in no particular order, so let's jump into the video. Now, this first skill is considered so useless that I felt it did not even deserve a number in the top 5. So at number 0, we have fire making. Fire making is an artisan skill that can be used to set objects such as logs and lanterns on fire. Different logs require different levels to ignite, and when a log is lit, it will stay on fire for a short while. Oddly, how long the fire stays lit is always random despite the player's fire making level and type of log used. The type of log also has no different effects on burning the different types of food you cook on them, making the basic level 1 log just as useful as the level 90 elder log. If removed, players could still cook their food by simply lighting any log in game without a level requirement, or use one of the 30 cooking ranges located around RuneScape instead. I feel that Jagex only added fire making as a filler skill, and is by far one of the most laziest developed skills in the game for being around since the beginning. Struck a match with that one. Now that we got past that poor excuse of a skill, we can get into the actual countdown. Starting the race off at number 5, we have agility. Agility is a support skill which gives players access to various shortcuts around RuneScape. Most shortcuts become accessible as the player's agility level increases. A higher agility level also causes the player's energy to recharge slightly quicker naturally, and when resting. Now, if you have ever raised the agility skill, you will notice rather quickly that the skill is not only tedious, but it is also one of the slowest skills to level up in the game, running the same circles around agility obstacles hundreds to thousands of times for a single level. So while players may have to spend an extra 30 seconds to a minute walking around an area without access to these shortcuts, it is much less time-consuming than the hundreds of hours needed to simply access the shortcut itself. And with the introduction of lodestones and other teleportation methods into modern-day RuneScape, players do not have to run nearly as much, and rarely find themselves ever running out of run energy. I know there are exceptions. If agility was removed, they could simply remove run energy altogether. As for the shortcuts, they could be adopted into the quest lines, or even a mix of other skills like construction or thieving, to build or sneak through obstacles. Just an idea, people. Coming in at number 4 is Thieving. Thieving is a support skill that allows players to obtain coins and items by stealing from market stalls, safes, chests, or by pickpocketing non-player characters, aka NPCs. This skill allows players to unlock doors and disarm traps. Now, while the concept of a sneaky rogue skill where you can steal and make some easy dirty money sounds very appealing, however, it simply did not play out that way. Unfortunately, even the highest level NPCs you can pickpocket at level 98, for instance, can only give a maximum of 315 gold, which when you compare to money methods made from gathering skills, you find that the profit from thieving versus the time to actually level becomes rather obsolete. If removed, all items that players can obtain from thieving would still be obtainable, besides items that only apply for the skill itself, like the Pharaoh Scepter, which would become obsolete as well. As for opening locked doors, safes, and chests, players could simply make a lockpick from the smithing or crafting skill. All this aside, I still do rather enjoy leveling the skill itself, and definitely feel that thieving is an awesome concept for a skill. At number 3, we have smithing. Smithing is an artisan skill through which players may use ore and metal bars to create a wide variety of metal items such as weapons and armors. Now, if you've ever played almost any MMO with a skill system such as World of Warcraft, you'll discover that smithing is actually a broken skill in most games, with the top armor and weapons that you can obtain by smithing being obsolete compared to the weapons and armor that you can obtain from raids and boss drops. The same applies to RuneScape's smithing system, except far worse, as the skill is extremely outdated. The highest level smithing armor is only usable for low combat to mid-level combat players. For instance, the best armor you can make at 99 smithing is Rune Plate Body, which only requires 50 defense to actually wear, which is still easily beaten by loot from many monsters' drop tables. Not only that, but you can buy the armor for cheaper than the supplies cost to create just about any armor for smithing, making smithing quite a money sink to most. Being as it is an expensive skill, it is highly unlikely for a low to mid-level combat player who would use these armors, such as rune armor, to have the relative smithing level to even create them, truly making it an obsolete skill at the moment. Thankfully, at some point this year, smithing is getting a rework, which can hopefully remove it from this list. If smithing was removed from the game, in its current state, everything that can currently be created through smithing would still be common drops from many monsters' drop tables. And even then, none of it would be good compared to the stats of the best gear you can just obtain from looting monsters and their drop tables. Now this next skill is a hard one to put on the list, as it is my favorite skill in RuneScape, with both my accounts having 200 mil XP in the skill, and while I find it to be the most unique skill in terms of allowing creativity and customization, it is definitely a skill that RuneScape could survive without. And that skill is Construction, coming in at number 2. Construction is an artisan skill that allows players to build and customize their very own player-owned house, aka POHs. Players design their house by arranging various square rooms and then filling them with furniture specific to the type of room, giving it experience in the process, and unlocking more rooms and better features for current rooms as you level the skill up. Construction is generally regarded as one of the most expensive skills to train. This is because the materials for building furniture have very high prices, and there is no monetary payback when using them up for training. You build nice furniture and then destroy and rebuild it and do it all over again. As where skills like Prayer and Herbler can be more expensive, but they offer more useful rewards at high levels, and the materials used for training can be produced by the player. Some rooms in construction, such as the throne room, are purely cosmetic and are for showing off wealth and achievements. Others, like the chapel, are useful for skill training, and while most players may see the chapel and study rooms as extremely useful for their prayer XP and making spell tab, without the skill in-game, gilded altars and lecterns could still be placed in several areas all around Gielinor to allow for the same benefits. Because let's face it, Jagex did create those rooms for the sole purpose of making construction seem like a somewhat useful skill, instead of the complete money sink that it is. So without the need of those few rooms, construction serves no actual purpose, and thus, RuneScape could work without construction in the game. Though all of us old house party lovers would definitely be sad to see it go. And now, tied for the number 1 spot, we have Dungeoneering and Slayer. Now hear me out fully before posting the hate comments on this one, as I did show my definition of a quote-unquote useless skill, which includes filler skills that were implemented with minimal effort through quote-unquote lazy game development. And both of these skills take something from that. Now, starting with Dungeoneering, while a lot of effort was put into the skill's development, it is definitely seen as a filler skill to an extremely large amount of the RS3 player base, and has even earned itself the title of, quote-unquote, the minigame skill. Dungeoneering is a support skill that consists of exploring the dungeons of Daemonheim by solving puzzles, unlocking doors, fighting monsters, and bosses, all while using your other RuneScape skills to solve puzzles to ultimately survive its depths. And for that reason, I actually personally see Dungeoneering as a very awesome skill, as it gives players incentive to level all their other stats to become a better Dungeoneer. Is that a word? But other than the items from the reward shop, there's no actual rewards other than leveling the skill itself. And since many minigames already have currencies like Dungeoneering tokens to purchase unique items from reward vendors for that specific minigame, Dungeoneering could have easily did the same if it had been a minigame instead, thus making RuneScape work just the same if it did not exist in the game, or simply existed as a minigame. Lastly, the one that's probably going to get debated the most, we have Slayer.
Slayer is a support skill that enables players to kill monsters which are often otherwise immune to damage. Slayer was introduced on January 26, 2005. I feel I may get a lot of hate on this one in particular, but I personally think that Slayer has to be the laziest skill to ever be developed by Jagex. Though due to how many combat skills are in the game, I will say that it makes sense for a great incentive skill to help give players a reason to max out their combat levels. With that said, I fully do see the pros to adding a strong incentive skill dedicated to the combat aspect of the game. And no one can deny that the Slayer skill icon takes the cake for one of the best skill symbols in the game. But when you break it down in terms of development, if Slayer was not in the game, it would literally change nothing so long as Slayer monsters remained in the game, simply without a Slayer level requirement. If you think about it like this, no matter what, an MMO will add new monsters to it. To simply add a monster under a skill requirement and then add updated items that Jagex knows players will seek to those creatures' drop tables is just taking the easy way out in my personal opinion, and requires very little actual effort on the developer's end. I wish I could say making Slayer 120 skill made it more viable, but other than going for those extra levels, the 21 added levels were very underwhelming in terms of the low amount of creatures that got added, currently making around 90 non-related Slayer creatures currently within the skill. And there you have it, my top 5 skills RuneScape could work without. I have many exciting videos, including some very special interviews coming to the channel, so please be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for much more coming soon. 9HB out.